Oh, here's some exciting news. So Charles Oliveira is going to be fighting Islam. That's coming up later this year. There's more on that, though. Like, guys, let me ask you an interesting question. Think about it from this perspective, because there's a massive changing of the guard going on right in front of our eyes within the UFC. If I was to ask you this question, of all the fights announced, what fight are you most looking forward to? What would you say? Some of you are going to say Leon versus Usman. And some of you are going to say Max versus Volkanovski. A few of you are going to say Cannonier versus Izzy, and then you're probably, I would think the majority of the fights that are announced are probably going to go to the one that we're talking about right now, which is Charles versus Islam. That is a very interesting match, which was not an interesting match prior to Oliveira versus Gaethje. Now I'm personalizing, that's for me, but I was not overly interested in Islam versus Oliveira. I felt like I knew the way that one would go. I felt like I could tell you pretty safely that's going to be as much as a 3.5 and no closer to 3-1 favorite for Islam. The match isn't going to be overly exciting. It's going to be pretty dumb. It's going to be, I felt like I knew. Whether I was right or not, that's how I felt. So my anticipation was down. And I think that the way I feel largely translates to the way you guys feel. I feel like we're on the same page. That's probably the match that you would say that you want to see the most. Somewhere in that order that I just went through is going to be very close. Am I right? I'm stalling here. I'm buying a little bit of time because I want you to actually come up with an answer now. If you come to that same conclusion, or even thereabouts, that is a very different answer than you probably would have speculated 12 months ago. You would have speculated, of all the matches that are coming up, you'd be most looking forward to the return of Jon Jones. Or you'd most be looking forward to the return of Conor McGregor. Or whatever involves George Masvidal. Or wherever Nate Diaz and Dustin Poirier are going to end up. Like, these are the matches that you would think. These are the bigger stars in the sport. Not only was that true a year ago, that's still true right now. The guys that I just named are the bigger stars in the sport. Those guys aren't getting matches. For whatever reason, whatever is going on, there is a changing of the guard. Charles Oliveira could not get main event spots 2 years ago. When he started getting main event spots, nobody wanted to keep him there. I mean, it was one of those things. Now we're given reports that Oliveira's last fight was the biggest pay-per-view of all of 2022 thus far, which I will remind you, also contained interim champion versus undisputed champion within the heavyweight division, Ciryl Gane versus Francis Ngannou. This year is the same year that we held Covington versus Masvidal. And we're still finding out that Oliveira versus Gaethje did even more business. I mean, we're seeing this, there's a massive changing of the guard. And it might be this way for a little while. I don't know why some of those bigger names aren't getting booked. I would chalk it up to absolutely nothing more than a coincidence. Just a coincidence. Whatever you're trying to sit down and whatever you're trying to get hashed out, whatever you're waiting on. Connor's got the injury over here and John's coming back, but it's not quite yet. And if he comes back, it's Stipe, but we're hearing that Stipe's got a shoulder problem. I mean, there's all these different things that we hear. I don't believe there's anything more going on than a coincidence, but I will share for you, while this coincidence is taking place, we are seeing new guys seizing that opportunity. Islam Makhachev becoming a main event, which he's done before, but now he's becoming a main event of a pay-per-view. Those are not words that you would have thought you'd be speaking in 2022. And as interesting as Charles Oliveira has made this fight by showing us all how damn good he is, as interesting as that fight is, Islam is still going to be the favorite. He is. Ever so slight, I think Islam will be the favorite. He is as of right now. What if Islam wins the belt? Where does Oliveira go? Oliveira slides down a little bit. Now you got Islam. Islam's top of the bill. What do you do with Benny? Like, Benny, in the meanwhile, what do you do with Benny? That opens up the door to go in with Michael Chandler. But then now you're eliminating one of your guys. You're creating a number one contender, but you're also eliminating somebody who arguably could be going in for the top. I mean, you just got a lot of thinking to do. Talk of Volkanovski moving up. Where the hell is Poirier? Top of Poirier staying, but at one point he was going up to 170. Like, there's a lot of moving parts right now. And either way, the phenomenon that I'm speaking to, which is we are seeing a massive turnover. We are seeing a massive changing of the guard. Is this calculated? Is this planned? Is this strategic? Is this something we should be watching? Is there some kind of conspiracy involved? Or is this just the natural ebb and flow? You've still got those big stars. Anybody with the last name of Diaz, anybody with the last name of McGregor, anybody named Masvidal, I mean, those are still your biggest stars. Jon Jones will get inserted to that as soon as he comes back. But they're all out right now, and everybody's getting booked, and everybody's moving around them. And I just think if you look at it from that perspective, if you were to ask yourself, the way I started this entire topic, of the fights announced, what fight are you most looking forward to? I think if you then identify that fight and try to rewind your own memory 12 months, I think that would surprise you. Guys are seizing the moment. They're seizing these spots. They're seizing these opportunities. They're making the absolute most of it. I love it. I respect it. And as a fan, I'm going to go right along with it. Whoever's in that covetous spot, whoever's got the most to gain, whoever's fighting at the end of the night, I'm going to follow those stories the most. I think you guys are the same.